say that middle school is a time for kids to make mistakes and learn and move forward. In that regard, I feel like middle school has been a complete waste of time for Maya. She hasn't made a single mistake in high school. She is everything you want to see in a student. She is kind, and cooperative, and hopeful, and conscientious, and she actually likes coming to school. So that's her favorite. She is going to do great things, I know, and make everybody around her better, whatever it is she decides to do. So I'm looking forward to hearing this speech. I know you are too.
For my A speech, I chose the quote, "Surround yourself with only people who will lift you higher," Oprah Winfrey. This quote is very important to me because my friends and family are a big part of my life. Whether it's looking forward to seeing my friends at school or talking with my family at dinner, it's always a highlight of my day. I have learned throughout middle school that surrounding yourself with the right people can greatly change how you feel about going into a new day. I enjoy going to school because that means I get to see my friends, even if I don't always like doing the schoolwork. Having people who care about me by my side at middle school has made it so much less terrifying. I've played a lot of sports throughout my years growing up, and they have all helped me grow both physically and mentally. When I moved back to Kentucky from Wisconsin, there were lots of new sports offered here that I had never even heard of before. But one thing that has always stuck with me is basketball. I can still remember playing with all my friends on a half court and barely being able to get the ball to the basket. When I first started playing basketball at collegiate in 5th grade, I had no confidence in myself. In most games, I would be so scared that I would mess up that I would run away from the ball. I always felt really awkward whenever I actually tried helping, so for me that meant just staying out of the way. By the end of 6th grade, I didn't know if I wanted to continue. When sign-ups came for winter sports, I begged my mom not to make me do it. But she signed me up anyways, and looking back on it, if she hadn't, I would have been letting go of one of my favorite sports. At first I was nervous I would mess up, and I went back to my old tactics of running away from the ball. But as the season progressed, I got more and more confident. I realized that when I stopped worrying about what everybody would think of me if I missed a pass or a basket, I had a lot of fun. Basketball became something I looked forward to instead of dread. This year has been one of my favorite seasons. I've had so much fun playing with my friends, and I became more confident in both offense and defense. Field hockey is another sport that I love. I still remember my first practice in 5th grade. I was terrified that my mom had dropped me off at the wrong place because I didn't know a single person there. Right before I started thinking of all the things that could go wrong, Becca finally showed up, and things started getting better. We had to run laps for a really long time, and I felt like I was going to die after. I don't remember much else from that season besides the first couple of practices. Throughout 5th and 6th grade, I tried out a lot of positions. Some of these positions I really enjoyed and stuck with, while others I found that I wasn't the greatest at. One memory that I will always remember happened when I was playing goalie in field hockey. One day, Charlotte was helping me warm up and was shooting. She took a shot and missed the goal by quite a bit, and as it passed by me, there was a loud thump. The ball had hit my water bottle so hard, half of it was flat. Although this might seem like a random story, it is truly one of the funniest sports memories I have. This season has definitely been one of my favorites because I love being the oldest in the sport and I get to play on the freshman team. Field hockey has allowed me to grow not only as a player, but also as a person. It has made it easier for me to work in teams and communicate with people in sports and class. English was never something I was very good at. I didn't understand grammar, and during creative writing, I would stare off into the distance listening to the scrape of pencils on paper, my mind blank. I could never contribute to our discussions on assigned books or poems. I always just thought English would be a subject I had to push through, and would never be something I looked forward to. That changed in 6th grade when I began reading more. It became one of my favorite hobbies. Another reason I now love English is because of Miss Payne. She was always very helpful and showed me things I didn't know about English. The books we read in class were always led to engaging topics that didn't always stay on topic. One thing I also struggle with is public speaking and not procrastinating. OEOs were something that helped me with both of those skills. OEOs were a once-a-quarter project that would talk about a scene or a theme from a book you read. At first they seemed easy and quick, but I soon realized that it was something I had to put real effort into. Choosing a book I genuinely enjoyed caused me to read more outside of school. By 7th grade, I was always reading. I still didn't love everything about English, like having to annotate in class, but I understood the books more and I could connect to the characters. One thing that I loved about Mr. Keyes' class was we would write a prompt almost every day. They didn't have to be educational or grammatically correct, but they could just be about whatever you wanted the story to be. It was really fun to let my imagination run wild and not have to worry about clauses or imagery or spelling. I loved creating my own world with characters and plots, but eventually we had to transition from prompts to poems. I hated poetry. I always thought it was all rhymes and rules. It felt like being trapped in a box. One thing I didn't know about poetry until 7th grade was there are tons of different types. Until this point, I always felt like poetry was very structural and just a bunch of random words that made no sense together. It was a big surprise to me when we started learning about things I had no idea existed. Poetry still isn't my favorite thing, but at least now it's something that I don't have to avoid at all costs. One of my favorite things about any subject is that you're always learning more, and you'll never be done with it. So, by the time I am reading this speech in front of everyone, I'll learn so much more than I could put into this speech. LCS Players has not only helped me with public speaking, but also allowed me to connect with more people in my grade and other grades. It's also where I became closer to one of my best friends. I started doing LCS Players in 6th grade with the Wizard of Oz. I would have never thought I would have been a theater kid, but it became one of the best decisions of my life. My cousin Cole was a big part of the reason why I even thought of joining LCS Players. I went to a performance of Beauty and the Beast, and I was hooked. When it was announced that the play would be The Wizard of Oz, I was so excited. I decided to audition for The Guardian of the Gate, which was a much bigger part than I anticipated, but was, and to this day, still one of my favorites. I was so excited when the cast lists were posted and I got the part. When opening night rolled around, I was so nervous. I went over all my lines in my head and prayed I didn't mess up. Of course, there's never a show without a few bumps, but I felt really proud of myself after. My first musical was Elf Jr. I was a lot more nervous for this than the play because I wasn't used to singing in front of so many people. Even though I didn't get the part I wanted, I still had lots of fun with the upbeat songs and dances. 8th grade started with the announcement of Newsies. The buzz of excitement was kept up by the release of the cast list. I got the part of Joseph Pulitzer, the antagonist. It was really fun to get to boss people around on stage, and I loved getting into the part. The thing I was probably the most excited about, which is really funny looking back on, was getting a mic. It made me feel really powerful and important. My whole journey through LCS Players has been one of my favorite experiences, and I won't change a thing. I am the oldest sibling, and that has taught me a lot of important lessons. It has caused me to be more independent and the most responsible of my siblings. I don't remember a time that I was an only child because in all my memories, my sister Zoe is there. But I do remember what it was like before my youngest sister Sylvie was born. And let me tell you, it was a lot quieter. Living with 2 younger sisters, a puppy, and seeing a cousin all the time with the same amount of energy is not easy. My sisters are very loud and usually needy, no offense. My house can be very crazy at times, and because I tend to be the quietest, I get left behind a lot. I like to believe it's an accident, but it's happened more than once. There was a time that my family went to Canada over the summer. My family decided to go to Lake Superior, which thankfully was close to where we were staying. I, of course, was kept out of this discussion, so while my family was getting ready, I was up in my room reading. I honestly have no idea where they thought I was the whole time, because it must not have crossed their minds. My mom left earlier with my sisters, and my dad left later with my grandparents. I think my mom thought I was with my dad, and my dad thought I was with my mom, because there was no communication between the two about my whereabouts. The worst part isn't the fact that they left me in the first place, it's the fact they didn't realize I wasn't there until I called my mom. You'd think after that, they'd make sure all their kids were always with them, but this has happened at least 3 other times. Another thing being the oldest has taught me is patience and not getting annoyed very easily. If I always retaliated against my sisters for everything they did, it would be an endless battle. Even though I really only talk about the hardships of being an oldest, I will always love my sisters to the end of the earth in ways I can't express. Surround yourself with only people who lift you higher. Oprah Winfrey. Influences are a big part of who people are. The strongest influences come from the people you choose to surround yourself with, whether that's friends or family. I definitely wouldn't be the person I am today without all the people and things that have influenced me, good or bad. And because of that, I'm extremely grateful for the amazing people in my life. Although I'm not dedicating my speech to my parents, and I know lots of people do, I want them to know that I always love them and appreciate them for everything they've done for me. Miss Payne was my 6th grade advisor. I remember the first day of school in 6th grade and how terrified yet excited I was to be in her advisory. The first week, you surprised me by letting us play board games every morning and telling us how squirrels would one day take over the world. But not only were you an amazing advisor and storyteller, you were also an amazing English teacher. Coming into 6th grade, I did not like English, but as the year progressed, I loved it more each day. Through your class, I learned my love of books. I also became a more focused student and talked more during discussions. There was never a single boring day in your advisory or class. Even as I returned to visit you in 7th grade, we always found something to talk about. Thank you for all you did to shape me the person I am today. My sister Zoe is 2 years younger than me, but that doesn't affect our relationship. She has pushed me to be the person I am today, whether it's never letting me back down or give up, to sometimes literally pushing me. She has always been there for me, and recently I've realized how much I've depended on that throughout the years. She's always been a solid rock whenever my life was chaos. She helps me getting ready for auditions and practicing any sport I need. One minute we can go from screaming in each other's faces to acting like we're crazy by laughing at everything each other says. I'm so happy you're my sister and I want to change you for the world. My cousin Cole is not only my best friend, he's my role model and mentor. Ever since I remember, Cole and I have always been close. He is such a big influence in my life in one of the best ways. He is the reason why I joined LCS Players, which is one of my favorite things. He's always someone I can talk to about anything. Whether it's something in school, with my friends, or my sisters, he's always there to listen. Cole is funny, caring, smart, kind, and so many other things. I don't know where I would be today without him at my side, and there's something I will always be grateful for. Finally, I have a special shout out for my sister Sylvie. I know we don't always see eye to eye, and I know it can be mean sometimes by cutting you up. But I want you to know that I love you so much, and even if I don't show it, there's nothing I wouldn't do for you. I can't wait to see the person you will grow to be. Thank you for listening to my speech.